What's going on, YouTube family? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight with more lake breakdowns. I've been doing some big lakes lately with Eagle Mountain Lake, Lake Fork. Those take me a long time, and I know I'm kind of starting to bore my viewers. So the next lake I was going to do for you was Bridgeport Lake, which I definitely will do, or Lake Bridgeport, however you want to say it. But I'm going to squeeze one in right in between that lake breakdown. I'm going to do a real quick one for you guys, and this is going to be Winnsboro Lake, or Lake Winnsboro. It's out in Winnsboro, Texas. Very small lake. Had a really tough time finding any kind of charts on it, contour lines, stuff like that. Google Earth made it a little bit tougher too, because the water was only drawn down really in 2012 and that image was a little blurry. So I've got some stuff to share with you guys on Winnsboro, probably not as much as I normally share with you, just due to the fact that I don't have all the information that I typically have. But anyways, without further ado, let's jump into this. We're going to knock out Winnsboro Lake. We're going to do Google Earth waypoints, and we're going to do offshore hotspots. Make sure you go out, simplistic fish, not square, not sight. Get your card, get your digital file, and be hooked up. Make fishing simple. Hey, let's jump into this. Here we go. All right, before we kick this off, one thing I really want to point out is that this lake has a ton of stumps. So I was able to get this image that someone drew up from one of my buddies, gave it over to me and said, hey, if you ever go to Winnsboro, just be careful because there's stumps everywhere. So they drew out this little map that you'll see here, and it pretty much shows you where all the stumps are and kind of your boat lane for the entire lake. So take a snapshot of this, do something. I don't have it on the SD card to show you. I'd have to make a big path there. Not sure I can do that without littering up your graph, but take a snapshot of this and have that with you if you go out to this lake. It'll be very helpful. So let's move on over and let's talk about some waypoints and offshore stuff. Here we go. So we're talking about Lake Winnsboro. One thing that I want to talk to you about as well is where it's located. So it's a little bitty lake. It's just east of Lake Fork. So if I pull out this map a little bit, you'll see here you got Dallas here, Hubbard, Lavon, Tawakoni, Lake Fork, and then right beside Fork you got Lake Gilmer, or not Lake Gilmer, Lake Quitman, and then you also have Lake Winnsboro. So this is the one that we're going to break down, and I'm going to start this off by just talking to you guys real quick about the offshore spots, because this is the only map that I could find that gave us the contours. And so basically what I did, you'll see when we switch over to Google Earth, I basically just compared this map to Google Earth and then put the spots on Google Earth in our next spot. So I can't really mark them for you on iBoating like I can on Navionics, but I was still able to put them on Google Earth, which will get them on your cards. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. So let's go ahead and just start up here at the top. And I just want to point out a few things. And again, we marked all of this stuff on Google Earth as well. But the first thing really is you got a boat ramp right in here and a nice point. So I've got that marked for you guys. You come over here, you've also got a good point right here, nice little shallow point that comes out with some good drops. So I definitely marked that one. And then moving just over here as well, you got the same thing, like a real nice ridge or something going on here. And I don't know if this is a creek channel or not. If it is, that would be a good area to look. But I've marked that, and I've marked that one as well. And then as you move down, really, it's really more about points than anything else. There's a couple humps, and that's about it. So you've got a really good hump right here that I marked for you guys. Moving on down, you've got a good point right here that's marked. I believe you have another mark point right in this area as well. And again, we're going to go over these in a minute. And then I also marked this area out here where you've got this shallow kind of hump that comes out and then a nice break. So I marked that for you guys. You've also got a ramp there that we'll talk about. And then a couple more spots. I think there were some points over here, like this one here, that one right in there as well. And then moving up this one too. So you've got a lot of decent ones that are right in here. So anyways, not a lot of offshore spots. I think there were 10 offshore spots altogether. And I think probably 7 of them are actually just points. But looks like a fairly easy lake to fish. You could probably figure it out pretty quickly. Let's jump over and let's talk about the Google Earth waypoints and put all this together. All right, so we got the iBoating stuff out of the way. Let's move on over and let's talk about the Google Earth waypoints. So what I did basically is I took all of those points that we talked about on iBoating. In fact, I think I missed a few of them when I was talking to you, but you can see them all here. And I just marked them as offshore, so you'll see them all as offshore spots. So if we go up to the top, we talked about the ramp being there, the offshore spots being these 2 spots right in here. Also, that little point right in there looks really good. So anyways, you'll be able to see those on there, and they'll be on the cards as well. So you'll have the offshore and the stuff that we find on Google Earth. So the trick to this one is, didn't really find too much on Google Earth. If I took the timeline back, really, you'll see the lake does not fluctuate very much at all. And so the best image that I could find when it was drawn down is actually all the way back to 2012. So if I pull this back to August of 2012, this is when the lake was probably the farthest down that I could tell. The issue that I had here is the image is just not very good. You can see here it's just kind of blurry, so I can't tell. Like, is this standing timber? I think it is, but it's hard to tell, and you can't really see any brush piles or anything like that. So this one's going to be a little bit trickier. Obviously, the card won't be nearly as expensive because I don't have too many points on here, but I still think it's going to be very helpful for you guys. You pretty much know exactly where you need to go. So let's start right here at the ramp, and if we follow that little path that we were talking about, there's really nothing over here that looked that good to fish. So you could just run that little path up this way and then start running up this shoreline. So that's what we'll do. We'll run up this shoreline and then we'll run back. So the first spot is obviously this point. This point's got a pretty good break on it. We talked about an eye boat, and you would have saw it there on the breaks, but you got a pretty good break off of this point and a couple good breaks off of both these points as well. So you'll want to take a look at those areas. And then right here, another good point with another good break. So definitely want to take a look at that and see what you can figure out there. Now, as we get back in here, there was a creek channel that I was able to find, so that was nice. I couldn't really find too many boat ramps, no brush piles, stuff like that. There's not a lot of rock or anything, but I was able to find this. So you got a nice little creek channel that makes a really good ditch back in here. And again, my apologies for the image. This is the best image that I could find on this lake when the water was drawn down. So then as we move over here, another good offshore spot. You can't really tell, but this is a little point that comes out here. So I went ahead and marked that one for you guys. And then as we move up here, we're going to kind of stay on this east side and just make sure I don't miss anything for you guys. Again, not seeing too much, guys. Like even here, I can't tell if there's brush piles or anything. I just can't see that. The image is just not good enough for me. But then we get back in here. Did see a lay down off of this point, but this is getting pretty shallow. This looks interesting, though. You got another point here with some standing timber. So that might be worth taking a look at. When you get up in here, it looks like it's only like 4 to 5 feet. So be careful up in here. And definitely remember there's stumps everywhere in this lake. You can see them. They're scattered all over the place. So as you move down in here, this point looked interesting to me. But when you pulled the water up, it just doesn't have a lot of breaks. So I didn't mark it for you guys, but you may want to fish around there just to see if there's anything located in that area. And then as you move down around this point, I was able to at least find a little bit of brush down in here. So I marked that for you guys. You can see how bad this image is. It's just not a very good image. There is some more brush right in here. I kind of validated it by switching back and forth on the dates. So I'd go to 13, see if maybe I could see a little bit. So here you can see a little bit of brush here. If I go back up to that spot we were just looking at, you can see the brush now. So I'm going to keep on moving down. In fact, I'm just going to leave it at 2013. You got a boat ramp that's out here. It's kind of hidden. You can't see it, but it's hidden in here. And if I draw that back to 2012, you'll actually see it pretty good. So those are always good. That looks like a boat ramp that's not being used anymore at all. Or if it is, it's not being used very often. So take a look at that. Obviously, you want to fish around this point as well. That could be good. It looks like I missed a laydown right there. But there's a laydown right there, but I don't know if it's going to be underwater. And then offshore spot right here as well. Mark that for you guys. Coming up in here, the only thing I really found up here was a creek channel. So, you can't really tell where the creek channel is here when you're looking at the lake when it's actually not even all the way up. But if I draw it back down to 2012, that creek channel becomes really obvious. So now we've got the creek channel here. Here's your bin. It kind of does some funky stuff right in here. Almost looks like it splits. I thought about making markers up here for you guys, but I think it looks like it goes right down through here. So I marked this, but don't discredit that side. And then coming over here, and then obviously you got your culvert there. And then moving down, there was a ramp out here, another kind of hidden one. I don't know if this is a personal one or what, but a hidden ramp there. Couldn't tell what that was. At first, I thought it was a brush pile, but then when I moved it up to 2013, it looks like some kind of concrete structure. So I don't know if you can fish around that or not. If you can, you probably want to just because it's out in the middle of by itself. There's nothing around it. Another good offshore hotspot was right here. So I marked that for you guys. And this is all submerged underwater typically. So this could be a potential good spot too. Nice main lake point coming off of a creek channel. There's a creek channel that runs right through here, I believe. So this could be a really good spot. These 3 offshore spots are probably going to be your good spots. And then moving over here, just found a little bit back in here, not too much, just a couple brush piles. So I've got those marked for you. And again, if we move those up, I think we can see them a little better. Now we can't see them at all. So there are little bitty brush piles there. You just can't see them very well at all. You have to kind of get a microscope just to see them. So then moving on over here, next thing was that hump that we talked about that we saw on iBoating. So I marked that for you guys. Didn't see much going on in these bank lines, just no rock or anything, just really mud. I imagine there's probably grass and hydrilla and stuff like that in this lake. Moving on down here, didn't see too much either. But I did like this, kind of an offshore hump, not too much offshore, but it definitely is offshore. So you probably got a break out in this area somewhere you could take a look at. And then when we get down here off this point looks pretty good too. It's got some pretty good breaks over here as well. Just be super careful. As you can see, there's a pretty good tree line right here that you can really get jacked up in. And then over here, you got a little culvert that you can go through. Not sure if it's worth fishing or not. Not sure if it's deep enough back there, but I went ahead and marked it for you guys. And then we get down here, we're back to the ramp. So as I mentioned, this was going to be a short one because I couldn't really make too many marks for you. We've got 2 different creek channels marked. We got a couple different brush piles. We got about 10 different offshore spots. Definitely enough to make a day's worth of fishing. If it's a windy day, this would be a great lake to go out to. I've never been there, but I do plan on going there soon. So heads up for the video. Hopefully it'll be coming out soon of us fishing Lake Winnsboro. I don't know if we'll be able to do it this weekend, but hopefully we can do it in the next 2 or 3 weekends. So until next time, guys, make sure to go out and get your card, simplisticfish.square.site. Hope you catch your PB, and thank you for all the support. Take care.